Welcome back to the Working Lunch. My name is Jack Crumley. I am joined on the show now. You know, in the beginning of the show, we talk about letters that everyone knows, and I think three other letters that everybody knows in this town, at least you should, is CLP, Cincinnati Landmark Productions. I'm joined by Tim Perrino and Rodger Pille of Cincinnati Landmark Productions. Thanks, guys, for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
We appreciate being here. It's great.
Yeah. You guys have been, Cincinnati Landmark Productions has been around for quite a while, not to try to put too much of an age on you, but I mean, at this point, the way it exists now, you got the Warsaw Federal Incline Theater, you got the Covedale Center for Performing Arts, which has Cincinnati Young People's Theater attached with that.
Bingo.
And then there's Madcap Education Center, right, which is a major cultural arts institution that's on the west side. You guys are operating such an impressive organization. How do you do it?
It's a big umbrella.
Yeah.
Yeah, we cover a lot.
Yeah.
No, and I think, you know, Tim started this whole shebang back in 1982, and I think we very thoughtfully expanded over the years.
Over the years, we've been very lucky.
Very intentional and very smart about it. We have just enough of a conservative nature to make sure that we don't put ourselves out beyond doing anything we can't do well.
Sure, yeah. That's a difficult thing to balance, right? When you're talking about, even, you know, you guys got into nonprofit status in the early 2000s, as I recall, with Covedale.
Technically, the very beginning program, Cincinnati Young People's Theater, was created as a nonprofit in 1990.
Okay, so even living in the space for even longer than that, trying to make sure that managed growth is part of what you do and not trying to jump too quick to get too big too quickly. That's an ongoing challenge, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you know, it was interesting. I remember when we took on purchasing the Covedale Cinema and made it into the Covedale Center for Performing Arts back in 2002. I mean, by 2003, we were running on air. You know, we were really thin. And we sat down, and Doug Ridenauer, our great supporter over the years, and now our board president, he literally put a check on our desk and said, here's $10,000 to get us through this month. If you need another month, call me back on next month. We never cashed that check.
You're kidding.
We just got by that, and it got a little bit better the next month, and get a little bit better that month. And by the time Covedale really started hitting, and really people started to come, and we have a fabulous subscription base, and it really built quickly at that point. We were fine.
Yeah, I mean, having to manage reasonable growth, manageable growth is a big thing, but then also managing subscribers. This isn't just about random ticket sales, that's part of it too, but having your perennial patrons.
That's right, and when we were coming out of COVID and talking to other arts organizations, the one thing we knew we had going for us was incredible loyalty with our subscribers. So that as soon as we were able to get back on stage, we sold 55% of our tickets before we ever opened because of subscribers coming back. So it is such a key piece of the business model for us.
Well, and I think that says a lot about the idea of, you're talking about loyalty and being on the west side. You guys are running such an impressive arts institution on the west side. Do you think that part of town gets the credit that it deserves in terms of the arts? I mean, there's a lot of attention that goes on urban core type stuff and things that are downtown and over the Rhine, and certainly there's some really impressive work there. In no way am I trying to take away, but I mean, does the West Side get forgotten about?
You're talking to two West Siders with a couple of chips on our shoulders. I would say, I mean, yes, right? I mean,
I hesitate to say yes, but yes.
Dave Allen, the longtime 57-year teacher at Elder High School, is retiring this year. And at his retirement ceremony, he said the exact same thing. Yes, yeah. The West Side doesn't get credit for the amount of arts that are coming from the West Side. And we're a piece of that, and we're proud to be. But that's the reality. The really nice thing is we may have, when we launched, catered to our West Side patrons and residents. And we've done, I think, incredible work for the neighborhoods that we're in. But now, our audience data tells us that people come from all over the place, so they're coming into the West Side to experience the arts. We have a great value proposition, and essentially a lot of our patrons tell us explicitly that for the cost of one ticket to a downtown show, they can have a whole season at one of our theaters and have entertainment throughout the year. So it's important, and they're coming. They found it, now they're coming, and they're spending money in these West Side neighborhoods. So all the businesses around us also get boosted up because of what we're doing on stage.
That's a tremendous piece of marketing, being able to equate an entire season's worth of entertainment and, feeding the soul to one ticket, one time, someplace else. That's a huge feather in your cap in terms of marketing.
Yeah, so I'm asking, are we still about 300 separate zip codes? About 300 separate zip codes will come to one of our theaters during the year.
Yeah.
I think some of that started back in the day when we ran the Showboat Majestic from 1990 to 2013, because it, had at least a certain national reach or understanding that people wanted to see this National Landmark Theater. I remember when we ran the Showboat, we had subscribers. People bought the whole thing at the Showboat, and came in they would come in from Columbus and stay the weekend, see a show, do all that kind of stuff. They came in from Wheelersburg. They came in from Indiana, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, and had subscriptions. That carried a little bit over too. When we then opened Covedale, and we said, hey, you're a subscriber. If you like what you like at the Showboat, hopefully come to Covedale. That then translated that when eventually we moved on from the Showboat into the Warsaw Federal Incline Theater, and our summer theater, moved to there. And that's what Showboat was. It was a summer stock theater, and we just continue that. And you're right. I mean, it's you got to be smart. Just keep marching along. Make sure you sort of secure one level, and then plan for how to make to the next level.
Yeah,
and that's what's happened.
Well, and you're talking about when you guys opened Warsaw Federal Incline Theater, that was during a time when that neighborhood was really undergoing a lot of change. You guys were sort of an anchor part of the transformation of that neighborhood, which I don't know that there's been a lot of headlines recently about any new development going on there, but I mean, you guys were an anchor part of that.
Yeah, Incline District, you remember, what was the percentage of work permits on buildings and stuff that went up after we opened the Incline?
Quadrupled from the moment that we
work
announced.
Work permits just to build a building or fix a building or whatever. What was it again?
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. So anytime that, like a rehab on a house, people started investing essentially in the neighborhood at a rate of 4 times that they were seeing before we were there.
Because they got the sense that you guys were investing in the neighborhood with a place that regularly draws people. You had the what's the bar and restaurant that's right there next to Prima Vista, that's right on the ledge?
Incline Public House.
Incline Public House. I mean, the idea that they saw people were investing in the community, which then made them want to invest in the community.
That's exactly right. And that's the playbook. And when we first even thought of the idea of doing something in that neighborhood, community leaders immediately reached out to us and said, look, lots of ideas have sort of been presented for this neighborhood. And we think yours is the right one. Something that's going to bring people into the neighborhood, create an energy and a sense of safety that's just going to rise everything. And now other bars and restaurants can open and take advantage of all the people that we're bringing in.
Yeah, and homes and apartments.
That's right.
I mean, there's a building right next to us, the Incline now, it's for sale for $1 million. So it's
Make note of that.
Gone a little upscale.
So in terms of what you guys have going on right now, because we're in the summertime, so the season is a little bit in flux before we get back into the regular fall marquee season for the Covedale. 1776 is going to be opening at Warsaw soon. How's that going?
Next week.
Yes, I'm directing that show.
Oh, gosh.
And I'm having a ball, and we have a fantastic cast, fantastic ensemble. Honestly, I mean, just real pros, knocking it out. Rehearsals are very, very exciting, but it's the full bore. I mean, it's the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, and we have the show 1776, which is the musical about the signing of the Declaration of Independence. It's powerful, it's funny, as if you know the show, romantic in many places, but fantastic piece of theater with great suspense and urgency and excitement. Really
Picking this show was a no-brainer for 2026, right?
I wanted to do it last year because I was afraid everybody this year would be doing it. He said, no, we'll do it next year, and it turns out, I don't know that there's anyone else doing it in this time frame.
Yeah, not too many
I think there's a couple in the fall.
Yeah.
So that's at the Warsaw. You got Newsies coming up for the Cincinnati Young People's Theater. That's going to be at the Covedale. What's it like to see? I mean, you guys have been involved in just sort of the general theater scene for so long. This push that, you know, a lot of Broadway shows now tend to be adaptations of films. That sort of seems to be a growing trend. Does that have an impact on what you guys are able to produce locally?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, we know that a title tends to be an easier gateway drug. So if there's a way for a patron to say, all right, I'm familiar with that title, I know the movie it was based on, or know that person that was about, they're willing to give it a try, and then we get them hooked. Right. And then they'll come and see, you know, brand new original pieces and whatnot.
A show that isn't named after a famous book or movie.
But it is very much a hook. It's very much a draw. And Newsies is an amazing show. Right. And, you know, 60-plus teenagers dancing their hearts out is going to be one of the coolest things to see in town this year.
Yeah, that's where we started, CYPD.
Yeah.
Cincinnati Young People Theater.
Before we started the show, Rodger, I was talking to you beforehand about, and this is something that we also discussed with Lynn Myers with the ensemble, the importance of young people having summer theater programs, not just for the idea of something to do, but learning a variety of skills.
Mm-hmm. That's absolutely true. Tim in 1982 had the foresight to realize that, you know, and there wasn't really anything like that in town.
Near the proliferation of.
And you saw that there were a whole
theater.
bunch of teenagers sitting around probably doing a whole lot of nothing with their summers before that, and now you have these theater kids that can come together, become friends with people all over the region. I did the program back in the 90s, and still my best friends to this day were guys that I met in the shows those summers. But then, you know, the communication skills, teamwork, personal responsibility, communication skills, all of this comes through by doing theater. It's really, really helpful.
Doing something with a massive, massive goal, right? That everyone has to be pointing in the same direction for and be behind. And then when it works, when it's successful, to see the accomplishment in these kids. I tell them every year, you know, you're going to make more friends than you ever made in your life this summer. But more than anything, you will have spent a summer and you will come back to your school or wherever with such a sense of accomplishment.
Right.
Right? It's confidence.
You'll feel good
from
about
that.
it.
Yes. Absolutely.
I think we've got some video of some of the educational stuff that you guys promote.
In the heart of Westwood, the Madcap Education Center is open year-round, offering professional instruction in music and visual art to students of all ages and skill levels. Private lessons, group classes, summer camps, from beginner to advanced in a dedicated arts facility built specifically for learning and creating. The demand has been extraordinary. When CLP acquired a local music school in 2024 and brought its instructors, instruments, and curriculum into the Education Center, enrollment surged and kept growing. We even converted office space into teaching studios just to keep up with the demand. Today, more than 300 students call the Madcap Education Center their creative home. They learn there and then springboard that education to real-world gigs and exhibitions. That's not a side program. It's the pipeline. Today's student is tomorrow's working artist, tomorrow's subscriber, tomorrow's donor. This is where it all begins, one guitar solo at a time.
The community was like crazed for that when we brought that proposal to what we're going to do. And you know, you always want the community on board, and you always want to serve the community. And they were like ready. They're saying, yes, this is a great use of this building. Let's rock and roll.
Yeah, that's a tremendous thing. That's the Madcap Education Center that is on
Harrison Avenue.
It's on Harrison Avenue, right there. There's the Door District that's right in there. It's a main drag spot. That's just one of the many feathers in Cincinnati Landmark Productions caps. We are going to take a break. We were going to come back with more. Rodger Pille and Tim Perrino of Cincinnati Landmark Productions. You are watching The Working Lunch on The Crown.
for your head, Ichabod.
You have no idea how bad I have to pee right now.
I want your head.
No, please don't.
You stole my head.
I'm sorry, I didn't know it was your head. Whoa.
Let me get this straight. You find a magical, decapitated head, and don't think, I don't know, just brainstorming here. It belongs to the headless horseman of Sleepy Hollow.
Well, okay, fine, I'm sorry, all right, I'm sorry. It's just that your head was really good to me. You know, he gave me really good advice, and he warned me about danger. It was kind of like my magic 8-ball.
He's my head. I don't feel like I should have to keep saying this.
I think that is so impressive. That's a performance of the Ichabod Crane and the Headless Horseman from Madcap Puppet Theater, which you guys merged with in 2017. How did that addition into whatever into everything you guys were doing before? How did that come to be?
So we had just opened the Incline Theater in 2015.
Yeah.
And we got some members of the Madcap Board of Directors had reached out and said, all right, so you just did this massive building project. The neighborhood of Westwood has a building that they're going to give to Madcap Puppets for $1 if they could raise the money to do the renovations. And Madcap had raised a certain amount and sort of hit a little bit of a ceiling. And so they said, how do you get over that, and how do you get all the way, and how do you have construction managers and all these sorts of things that we had just experienced?
Yeah.
We hung up from that phone call and immediately looked at each other and said, this is potentially a merger situation, because we have some expertise in that field that they didn't have, and they had an amazing, well-established, reputable touring division that we did not have. So putting the two together could benefit both, and that's exactly what happened. So we merged, and then we took over that building project, created the Madcap Education Center as part of that, and then the touring division was able to come under our umbrella, and we've been able to sort of boost it up and continue the massive impact. 100,000 kids a year experience Madcap Puppets, and in this market for sure, but then they go out into a regional zone that, again, we don't necessarily hit by having theaters that are based on the West Side. So we can sort of create this massive impact, and really all ages because of that, which is really neat.
Yeah, Madcap is a tremendous feather in your guys' cap, so to speak, between just various theatrical productions. This is a whole new way, and then again, you get to go out and sort of meet these kids where they're at. They get to experience theater. They get to see live puppet shows, which that was a really impressive piece with the Headless Horseman there. But you know, you were talking about the financial elements of things and how they sort of came to you and said, hey, how did you guys manage all this? I mean, fundraising is obviously the perennial thing to constantly worry about between patrons and ticket sales in general. How much innovation are you guys trying to think about all the time with new ways to figure out how to keep things funded?
Yeah, well, there's the $100 million question. Let me give you a little credit here, though. I mean, Rodger was the project manager for the fundraising and the construction of both Incline and the Madcap Education Center. So I'm going to tell you that, in my opinion, he has far more expertise in what you just said than I do.
I mean, the reality is we, as an organization, earn about 85 cents per dollar. And that is an extraordinarily high percentage for an arts organization. 50-50 is kind of the standard. So we are reliant on ticket sales. And in some ways, we almost have to operate or have our mindset to think like a for-profit. We need to make sure that we are selling the tickets to be able to do what we do. But the next avenue, the next wave for us to expand and do the crazy things that we want to do next, means that we're going to have to raise a lot more money and put it into the buildings, because buildings, especially old buildings, cost a lot of money. So if we want to continue to be anchors in these communities, we're going to have to find ways to raise a little bit more money to be able to support these things.
What role does corporate sponsorship play? I mean, that's another, you're sort of always beating that drum, but I mean, again, there's a pie that only has so many pieces in between advertising that they're spending for their own selves, their own organizations, and then being hit up for sponsorship of arts. That's just one more thing in the mix.
That's absolutely right. And analytics will tell us, okay, we can tell them the kinds of patrons that we bring in,
right,
and then hopefully be able to see that they actually want to talk to those people. So we can find true marketing matches by doing that, and so that the money comes out of marketing budgets for these from corporate sponsors, and be able to offer them something essentially for their sponsorship. But it is a key next piece.
So did you hear that, people out there who are sponsoring things?
Listen, it's the arts here. We're talking about, feeding the soul. We were just talking about the budget cuts that Cincinnati Public Schools is looking at soon, and arts are almost always on the chopping block there. I know it's a constant struggle. Tim, what is this like for you, seeing what this has become, going from Cincinnati Young People's Theater in the early 80s and Showboat Majestic for all that time, which we didn't really get into a lot of. That was on a boat.
Yes, a National Historic Showboat, the last actual showboat in America. And America's the only country with a history of such things, of boats that float down a river and put on shows town to town.
So you started Cincinnati Young People's Theater in the 80s. You're putting shows on the water, on the river, for a number of years.
CYPT really is the progenitor of everything, really, in many ways. So real quick, we had 16 kids. They all signed up for $10 to do a summer program in the theater. Today, I don't even know what our net worth is, but it's many millions more than that.
$160.
Right. So we had $160 anyway. But it gained a reputation, and matter of fact, it gained kind of a regional reputation, and that regional reputation made it possible for us to make a proposal to use CYPT as the producing organization to run the showboat operation, and that's why we got it, because the Recreation Department, which owned the boat, or the city owned the boat, but the Recreation Department was the administrator, knew and had heard regionally from other people that they knew about CYPT. And then we got Showboat, which then again was kind of a regional draw. And then one day we were down in a meeting down on the boat, and we said, if the river comes along, which it tried to do many times, and just sweeps this little boat off into Never Never Land, what do we do then? And we said, well, we better have because it was a summer operation, we need a winter theater. And that's where we made the play for Covedale.
And that's when Covedale came into the picture.
Right.
So what's it like for you now, having seen the way this organization has evolved and grown? Going back in time to early 80s Tim Perrino, what kind of conversation would that be?
Probably incoherently enthusiastic. I think that rah-rahing is my best talent. You got all these kids and their parents. Honestly, when we opened Covedale, we raised the money to buy it, and we had a little bit left over to start renovating it. But we didn't have the money to have, a lot of, pros working on it, so we had volunteers. All those volunteers came through mostly CYPT and their parents. And we would have 60 people a night putting in the seats, redoing the walls, building the stage itself. I remember I was doing a program out in St. Louis for a week every summer with teens. But my point was, I was out there, and my wife called me and said, you have to, when you come back, don't come home. Go straight to the Covedale. You will not believe what these people have done. You'd have 60 people a night, like I said, and they built the place. The original layout of the Covedale was built by volunteers who did, and they were all real people too. We have Mark Mueller, who's a longtime affiliate of ours, and his kids did Cincinnati Young People's Theater, but he's a building, what do you call him, building manager, a manager of construction manager. And he would just lead teams of volunteers around and say, this is how it's done. Boom, we would get it done.
Isn't that the enthusiasm of the community? I think this community specifically, and I think the West Side specifically, specifically within that specificity.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Being able to see that kind of energy from people that are willing to come out and help. I'm a little bit familiar with it in the work that I do with Independent and what we're doing to steward the Marymount Theater. We had a number of people come out over a couple of days to help reassemble the seats in there, and just seeing people show up and willing to give their time is it's got to be an endlessly heartwarming thing. But you guys also, in terms of what these theater productions are you have paid actors and paid crew. How important is that in terms of what you guys? Is it a credibility thing? Is it just because you respect people's time and people should be paid for the work that they do? A little bit of both.
Absolutely.
I would say both, and absolutely the second one.
Yeah, I mean, this town has so much talent on stage and off. And it's really actually baked into our mission that we want those artists to be paid. And this is often a place where they can get their first paycheck before they go off, graduate, if they're studying theater, or go off into the world. It's important for us to make sure that we compensate everybody and we put on a great show together.
Yeah, and we've enormous success. I mean, we didn't give them their success. The people earned their success, but so many people have come through all our various programs and have gone on and worked nationally, internationally, worked in the arts, and highly successful. It's exciting.
Yeah, Cincinnati Landmark Productions. The seasons are on right now. We're into springtime and summer, but things are coming up. Once again, we've got 1776 at the Warsaw. That's coming up in just a few days. Newsies at Covedale for Cincinnati Young People's Theater, and that's in addition to a number of summer camps, rock academies, and everything else going on at Madcap Puppet, Madcap Education. Guys, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. Cincinnati Landmark Productions, check it out. This is a local arts gem that's right here in this community. You would do well to check it out. This is The Working Lunch. We got to take a break. We'll be back after this.